So this question is a translate word problem question. I know that because of the length of the question, so without even reading, I could tell that. I also see that in the answer choices, I have variables, so I may, it may end up also being a plug in your own number question. So I'm keeping my eye open for that as well, because I can typically use that strategy anytime I see variables in the answer choices where I just make up numbers for X and Y in this case and see if they work out based upon what I read in the question. So the translate word problem part of this understanding is that I want to actively read, translate any quantitative thing that I read in the passage, definitely not read all the way through without writing some notes down on the side about what each bit of quantitative information represents. So let's sample that for you. So the question says a project manager estimates that a project will take X hours to complete, where X is greater than 100. So I'm just going to write that down. X greater than 100, X equals hours to complete. So that's a translation of the first sentence. The goal is for the estimate to be within 10 hours of the time it will actually take to complete the project, right? So we want X to be within 10 hours of actual. So let's say projected. This is actually projected is over 100. Okay, so then the next sentence says, if the manager meets the goal and it takes Y hours to complete the project, which of the following inequalities represents the relationship between the estimated time and the actual completion time? Well, if Y equals actual and X equals projected, and we want Y to be within 10 of the projected, then that means that when I find the difference between, when I find the difference between X and Y, in this case, that value should be less than or equal to 10, right? That should make sense. And maybe I should even put like this inside absolute value or something like that, right? The difference between the projected time and the actual time should be less than or equal to 10 because we want it to be, within 10 hours of actual. So here's my translation. I just translated exactly what this question is asking for. So that's a translation. So now I go over to my answer choices, and the first answer says X plus Y is less than 10. Well, no, that's not the case, right? Because if it took 100 hours to complete and the projected time was 103, right? 103 would be within 10 hours, but when I add those two together, right? So if X equaled 100 and Y equals 103, technically that would fit what the word problem is telling us, right? That the actual time was within 10 hours, right? So not more than 110 or not less than 90. But when we add those together, that's much larger than 10. So A is out. So in essence, I'm kind of using a plug in your own number strategy here. So then for choice B, it's saying that Y is greater than X plus 10. So that's the opposite, right? Because if X is a projected time and I add 10, I want to be within that. I want to be less than that, not greater than that. So that's why that's out. And then C is Y is less than X minus 10. So again, I like this because this is a possible value, like a possible set of values that work for X and Y. So I'm gonna just try those for choice C. So that would say that 103 is less than 100 minus 10, and that is not, right? This is not true, so C is out. And then if I try that for choice D, I have negative 10 is less than 103 minus 100, which is less than positive 10. Negative 10, 3. This is true, right? 3 is greater than negative 10, and 3 is less than positive 10. Therefore, the correct answer here is choice D. And when I take a closer look at it, I see that I could have got that by simplifying my translation here. If you recall, I'm not going to do this, but if you recall, when you have absolute value, you can break this into two separate equations, or inequalities in this case, in which case we would literally have something that looks a lot like choice D.